You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Welcome back once again. It's Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. We're talking TV tonight. My name's Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. I mentioned last episode I turned the big 5-0. One of the things I got for my birthday was I got the needle put to me. Got my third booster, or my third shot, my booster shot. Third booster. I am all hepped up. I've been running around the house. I flew here.
You're like the Three Stooges, like going in a circle.
On the floor.
Yeah. But I also got the needle put to me. I went on a super secret adventure to the slums of Columbus and got a tattoo.
Oh.
Remember that day that I sent you guys cryptic pictures? And
yeah, I knew I was missing something. But
I went. I've always wanted to get a tattoo. I was like, I'm running out of time.
Chief Wahoo's not going to be around forever.
That's right.
I was like, what mistake could I make here? Like, I very easily could have, like I've said before, I've been living the last 20 years with a Wahoo on my arm. Could have easily happened. I don't know what I would have done about that. I'm glad. I like the timeline that I didn't do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I kind of planned. I was like, what could I get? Because I didn't want to make that mistake. That's why I've never got one. It's like, how can I regret this later? Well, there's not that much later left. First off, that's like what can happen? And then I finally thought, like, I think I've found something that I can't screw this up. It's
got to be the Ka-Pow logo.
It's got to be.
You know me. It's a big. I got a K and a P on each ass cheek, and a P in the front. But you knew that. I planned out what I was gonna get. Emailed and called back and forth with them up there, and then that I was supposed to have to wait till this month to get it, and because like you can't get in anywhere.
Yeah.
And then
was it somebody you knew or some specific? There's a reason you had to go to that specific shop?
I didn't want a Marietta tattoo.
I know. I think I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I haven't researched the subject, but
but I'm not against it. But I was just like, first one, let's get the hell out of here. So I had it all lined up, and then they called me and left a message. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to push this off again. It was annoying, and which that's what happened. The guy that I'd made the appointment with, this was a pretty big place. I had it's got tons of people working there and stuff. So I kind of picked out the guy I wanted to do it, and he needed to move. He had things come up, but anyway, it's gonna have to push it back a week. And I was like, man, I took that day off, and they were like, oh, they kind of felt bad. Well, then they wanted to know every day I had off, and then called me back like, how about tomorrow? I was like, well, that's a lot different from a month from now. You know, I'm not gonna have to think about it for a month, and no backing down now. Of course, like the next day was Dragon Age Day. I'm like, I'm gonna play Dragon Age today. I got to drive to Columbus and back. But I did it. I went up there that morning, and I sent you guys a picture of some. I was in the city. I always feel like I'm
That's
a
right.
man
I
of the
think
people.
you did mention something about going to Columbus in the morning, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't even going to ask because I knew, you would have a reveal at some.
Yeah, I sent a video at one point while I was getting it, me staring at the floor, and you could hear Russian death metal playing, which was what played for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
It was pretty good. I kind of grew on me after 2.5 hours. It was like, here's what it's like to get a tattoo, in case you didn't know. So first off, I go in there, and the guy was like, "Okay, is this what you were looking for?" It was like he had like sketched up what I wanted, and he's like, "You like this one or this one better?" I was like, "Give me the big one." Bigger the better. Let's do it. He's like, "Okay." He's crumbled up the other one, threw it away, and then he's like, "It won't hurt too bad." I was like, honestly, I didn't really thought about that. I was like, of course, it's going to hurt, but I think we all know what we expect it to feel like, painful, but not, people do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be painful, but whatever. He's like, it's really more annoying than anything. I was like, okay. I wasn't worried about pain, I knew it was going to hurt, but who cared? But so we get down there, we go in a basement, his room, do it, and it's just like, and first off, of course, where I get it, I have to lay on my stomach the whole time, like I said, both ass cheeks, and I'm laying there awkwardly for 3 hours, and he turns on the Russian death metal on a loop.
But really, you want his comfort's more important than yours.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And honestly,
you want him to be at ease.
Yeah. Honestly, like I said, I didn't mind it. It was just funny. It was like this. It was an interesting experience. But he goes, "Okay, I'm just going to make a dot." And he's like, obviously he does this. All. He's like, "I'm going to make a dot. You tell me whether you can live with that or whatever, how that feels." It was like nothing. It was like, it was what you thought it was. I was like, yeah, I got it. Very like, yeah. like, oh, I'm fine. Well, I'll tell you, for the first hour, it was a long time. For the first hour, it was exactly what I thought it was going to feel like.
But then
it hurt. It hurt, but who cares? You're fine. For the next 2 hours, he could have. I was like, what information are you looking for, sir? I will tell you anything. You can stop at any time, halfway through. I don't care. Not really, but really. Like, I was like, wow, this is excruciatingly painful. Like, it was kind of amazing how much it hurt. I was surprised. But as soon as you're done, you kind of forget that, and I'd do it again. But I was like, this is crazy how much it hurt. Anyway, is any guesses what I would get? Because we have a small window here.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious.
I was trying to remember back to that episode and that conversation exactly what, because I remember the Wahoo talk.
What conversation? We talk about tattoos or something?
Yeah.
You know me. It was what tattoo would you get?
Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I definitely had not decided at the time what I was going to get. I don't think so. I don't remember. Maybe I did say what I was going to get. I don't know.
So it could have been a big one or a little one.
I don't see anything pop culture wise.
No, because it would have to be something that really has.
It was an Aaron Rodgers tattoo.
Yeah.
You got that Odell Beckham right there on that shoulder, didn't you?
13.
I feel like it could be something D&D or Dragon Age. It could be something.
Yeah, I could see a symbol or script of some sort, like.
Yeah,
meaningful to a character
but then like you say like if you told me it was like Boba Fett, I would believe you, like, hey, he got a Boba Fett tattoo.
I'll put you out of your misery because you guys are right on it here. I told Nick I was going to get that I made the appointment and it was going to be in like 3 weeks. he's like, he made some guess and it was like a terrible guess. I was like, I was like, you're not even close. He goes, well, I'll guess one guess every day. The next day, he said he immediately had zeroed in on it, just like you did. He said, it's something Dragon Age. So I was like, yeah. So I was like, what can I get that can't be ruined by anything? Nobody can go do something and ruin it. Mm-hmm. And so we did.
It's Clattenburg. It's the only person you can depend on.
I got Jesse's face. Yeah. No, I used a original character from our campaign that, you know, can't be ruined only by us. And if we ruin it'll
nobody will ever know. Yeah.
Nobody will ever know. But it was the shield of a NPC, non-player character, a character that I've, you know, created and voiced in the thing. He died in Jesse's first session a few years ago. He had a shield, and so I like designed the shield and just got the shield. Mm-hmm. And the last thing they heard him say, put on the shield. So I'll tell you quickly, give you a background of this character. He went around on some adventures with them, but he was a dwarf that belonged to the Legion of the Dead. And the story with them is they are like just like shunned from their families. They had never lived up to their potential. And so the only way they could get any credibility was to join the Legion of the Dead, and they would go fight these monsters, and they were doomed to die defending their people. And so they have their funerals before they even leave, because they're definitely going to die. And this character eventually fulfilled that, so that the guys playing the game could get away. So this character and some other NPCs went in, they were fighting, and they came back out for a second, and then they went in for this last push, and they died. But right before they went in, he was like leading the drive, and he said, "Dead men, catch your breath." And then they ran back in and all died. So that's what I got. I got the shield with that on it.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I can turn it here. It says Legion of the Dead. It has the dwarf face, and it says "Dead men, catch your breath" on it. So it's exclusive to our campaign, and so I never have to worry about it being ruined. Right. So,
and if you hold a candle up to it,
a
secret code will come out.
Yeah. Oh, you could. I play the long game.
Yep.
You have to exhume my body.
Yeah, that would have been the other thing I would have guessed, is maybe a Captain America shield by chance, but
that'd have been so basic. I was thinking like, if I'd have got a tattoo 20 years ago, it would have been a Cleveland Indians, or one time the thing that I almost got was either a Cap shield or an Avengers A, which 20 years later will be the most basic thing. No one would ever believe that I would have no street cred. I'd look like a basic bitch Avengers fan. So I'm super glad I never did that. This one I don't think I'll regret, just because it's never going to be famous.
Right.
So anyway, I just thought I'd catch you guys up on that.
Yeah.
Fun little thing.
So where did you go in Columbus? What was the name of this?
Evolved.
Okay.
Evolved. I know there's more to that name, like body art and piercings or something like that. But it had really good reviews, and they have a big staff, and there's some,
Yeah, I know a lot of people that go to over to Athens and go to like the Electric Anchor over there and get work done.
There's actually some talented people in our area.
Yeah, there are. But there's actually a guy I went to school with. He was older than me, but he's had a shop in Parkersburg for 20 some years, and he just recently moved his shop back to Marietta. So it's in the old Darrell Cult building, if you know where I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but
I sure do.
Yeah, so but he's done some good work I've seen too. So But yeah, I don't blame you one bit for going to Columbus, especially first time, not knowing what,
Right. Yeah. I didn't want to go risk anything the first time, but it may be the last time, or I also could, if I get anything else, the only things I will get will be the same type of things that go along with our campaign, and maybe put other things on there around my arm. But it's just, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. But I don't regret it. I'm glad I did it finally. I feel good about it. It was fun.
That is such a coincidence, because I got tusk cheeks.
I've been amazing. That would be amazing. Oh yeah, we have been continuing the story. I never mentioned we're playing. We're back in your guys' hometown, and so, which you were Magnum,
yes.
And we were introduced to your daughter, Robin.
Nice.
And all the people in the Bleak Watch, that dwarf place that makes lyrium. Anyway, I have all their names. Those guys never caught on, but all their names were TV detectives.
Nice.
We had Bunk, Mackey, McNulty, just everything. And they're they never caught on. I finally told them. It's like, you did not. Nothing. You didn't catch that at all.
I gotta tell you, I've been on a kick lately. That Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel that I caught the Murder, She Wrote on. They play Magnum like 3 hours a night in the middle of the night. So I've been catching up and just watching some random Magnum PIs, and I was really getting hooked and getting into it. And then the minute November started, it's 24-hour Christmas movies. So like they dangled the Magnum at me and then yanked it away right as I was getting interested.
Yeah, every year at this time I get mad because, like I've said before, I always watch Frasier when I go eat lunch at work on the Hallmark Channel. But now it's, as soon as like the middle of October hit, it's all stupid Hallmark Christmas crap. Should we start this episode over? I hijacked it. I hijacked our TV episode.
Now you can tell how much we love TV, and it's been a while since we've talked about it, so let's get into what we missed.
What in the good Lord is going on?
Nothing. Them just some fellas I play car pranks with.
The worst thing about prison was the Dementors. Nobody exists on purpose. Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die.
There are no strings on me.
So if you want to make more money and keep the money that you make, better call Saul.
He looks like a panda and a Disney princess had a baby.
Somebody royally forked up. Somebody forked up.
Randall! Okay, see you, Roof!
First, I thought you and the others were gods. Then I realized you're just men. And I know men.
You guys, look at my dirty girl.
Roll on snare drum. Curtain.
Oh, and let's let them know here
Good
that
joke.
Yeah, the show I think Seth and I have enjoyed the most recently is the Netflix series from Mike Flanagan, Midnight Mass. This is the guy who did The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor. But it is impossible to talk about without spoiling.
Yeah.
I think anything we would have to say about it would ruin some fun surprise or something you might enjoy. So we are going to talk about it at the very end of the episode. So if you got into this show and want to hear our opinions on it, stick around to the very end. We won't spoil the whole thing, but like I said, any mention of it will spoil something about it. So
yeah,
I know Jesse really loved that show too, so I'm sure he'll fast forward right to the end. I'm sure,
and just keep fast forwarding, as he listens.
Go right past it in the next.
So what'd you watch?
Well, it's the Halloween season and I watched that Midnight Mass and was really on a kick. I mentioned last episode I watched The Haunting, the movie. So I finally got to The Haunting of Bly Manor, the second of this series from Mike Flanagan. And it's very old. It's a year old now, but so I won't take a ton of time, but I liked it. I remember it didn't get a ton. Hill House was a huge thing. It had everyone talking about it. Bly Manor didn't the second time out, and it definitely wasn't as good as the first one, but I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of the same cast. I didn't think Carla Gugino was involved at all, but she had kind of a crucial moment, not a huge role, but a kind of a slightly crucial one. But instead of the Shirley Jackson book that the first one was based on, this one was based more on Henry James, mostly The Turn of the Screw from 1898, kind of classic Victorian, another kind of haunted house horror story that he took the basic framework of and all the character names and then updated it. So it was 9 episodes, and it was pretty slow. There was time, it took me a couple days to get back to it. It wasn't a binge for me, but it's what Flanagan does best, is like the family drama stuff. Like, even if the haunting horror stuff is a little bit, you roll your eyes at, like, I was so invested in the characters, and I was so interested in the just the family stuff that I was into it. And then episode 8 screeched to a complete halt. There's a big climax in episode 7 where everything's about to blow up. Episode 8 stops completely and flashes back to the 1700s and how the house began and how the first ghost became. And it's like, what are you doing? It felt like such a misstep, but it was like, as a standalone episode, it was excellent. Just as an hour of TV, it was this great Victorian ghost story, but placed right before the most exciting part, the climax of the show. So then you go to the final episode, 9, and everything ends in like 10 minutes. And most of the final episode is all epilogue that all happens after everything with the ghosts. So, but I was still so invested. Like, I wanted to know what happened to these people in the years after and what they all went on to. So again, like, there were structural problems, and if you're a straight up just horror fan, I could see you rolling your eyes through the whole thing. But he does such good drama that the ghost and the scares are just kind of a bonus on there. So if you kind of skip Bly Manor and because you heard the bad reviews to it, I think if you liked Hill House at all, and like I said, I think Midnight Mass might be better than all of them. So if you like this guy's output, I would say not to sleep on Bly Manor. So.
Cool.
I'm sure you were much more interested in another Netflix show, Lock and Key.
Oh yeah, Lock and Key season 2. I got to watch. I rewatched the first season. I'd watched it through last year or whenever it came out, and then had never rewatched it or anything. Decided to rewatch because I liked it, but it's the deal where the comics are very precious to me, and so anything they do is not going to be like, it's like anything else. It's never going to be like as good as the way you
get a key tattoo.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Trust me, that was on the list years at one point. It was a bunch of stuff I would never actually get until I found something.
Offenberger key, like design your own key, or like your family key.
I got it right. So anyway, anyway, I rewatched the first season and I liked it better. I always like that kind of stuff better after I know what I'm getting into.
That was my biggest problem with season 2, was my own fault, having very little memory of what happened in season 1.
Yeah,
because I didn't have time to go back and rewatch it, and I watched the recap. Netflix is very good with having a nice little but it's like 3 minutes long. And it was like, we're a family moving to New England. And it's like, I know all that. Tell me what I missed.
Right.
So it took me a long time to catch up. I couldn't even remember who Eden and the guy at the beginning. I had no memory of who they were or what their deal was. So it suffered from me not remembering a lot of stuff, which is not the show's fault. I will admit. But
yeah, I definitely was glad that I rewatched the first season, and some things that they did the first season I didn't like one, weren't as bad the second time, and two, they fixed in the second season. One being the villain in the first season, the actress that plays Dodge. I didn't think she was that great. I thought she looked the part and did fine, but I didn't love her. So there was a different villain revealed at the end of the first season, and that is who plays the villain in the second season, and he's way better of an actor. Like he's just way better at it, and so that fixed the problem, just replacing her. I thought it was good. Again, it's just more. It's a remix of Lock and Key. I think after I watched the first season, I thought they did everything. I remember thinking they did everything in the first season. Yeah. Well, and then after watching the second season, I was like, no, I was wrong. There was other stuff, and they did it all. Now it's all done. But they've already filmed the third season. Like it's done in the can, because the biggest reason I'm guessing is because the kid that plays Bodhi is growing up super fast. Yeah. And they were like, we're just filming these seasons back to back while he's still a kid, which is smart. So it is not the best thing ever, but it's, I'm only saying this because there is some similarities. I'm not truly comparing it to Stranger Things, but it's not that far from having possibly been as big a hit. It's just what is the thing that makes it? And it's I cynically say, I think I made the comment, I guess it didn't have enough 80s in it. Because I think that's a lot of what people like about Stranger Things is that it's set in the 80s. Yeah.
Dear Mike, today is day 185. I think I have finally adapted.
All right. Hold on to your butts, bro chachos.
I even like school now. I have made lots of friends. Even so, I am ready for spring break. Mostly because I get to see you. We will have the best spring break ever.
I don't think anyone wants to admit it, but nostalgia is a powerful drug. You may have heard.
I've heard that.
But
yeah, I like the first season well enough. I know it didn't, it wasn't entirely faithful to the comics, but it was its own thing as a, and it wasn't like a teen drama. It wasn't a kid show, but it wasn't straight up horror. It wasn't R-rated. Like you could watch it with younger kids. So it did a good job of that. I think season 2 was probably better. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the 3 kids. I think they're great they're good siblings. So often on a show like that, you're going to get Bodhi will run in the room and be like, I saw a scary thing. Shut up, kid. You're annoying. Like,
I hate that. Yeah.
They go, what? Tell us. What happened?
Right.
Yeah. They're there for each other.
They resolve things quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing I like is they make smart decisions. No one does the dumb horror movie thing. And they all talk to each other. Like I say, I hate on TV shows where, someone approached me with a deal. Like maybe I should not. They were, hey, I talked to this person and they wanted me to do something. But like, whoa, you shouldn't do that. Like they
love it.
They're realistic in that way. There's no secrets. When they find a key, they don't like, I'll save this for later. It's like, no, look, I found a key. What do you think it does?
Right. I agree. I Yeah, that kind of stuff I love. It's smart in that way. It's not perfect, but like I said, I'm really glad it exists. It's a remix, so it keeps me guessing what's going to happen. And I feel like I know everything about it. So, it has plenty of Easter eggs for me, but I feel like they really, whatever money they had for the show, they spent it well. I think, what you got a thought?
Well, I was gonna say that was one of my main complaints of this season was the idea is there's a house full of magical keys, and like they only used about 4 of them.
Yeah.
They just kept using the same ones over and over again. I'm like, are they just cheaping out? It's like there's some excellent keys. There's some very keys that will be very cinematic. And then at the end, they did unleash a few new ones and did some very interesting visual things. So I think they were saving up the budget for the big ending.
Finale. Yeah. And there are still keys, like the giant key for one has got to come at some point. And there's a lot. There's still more to do, and I don't know. I feel I have no perspective, so I have trouble. try. I really feel like the actors are good. The kid actors are good. I feel like they have quality people in there. It's just it's still on the Netflix top 10. It's been out for a few weeks. It's at 10 now. It's getting pushed down by the newer things coming out, but it did pretty well. So I don't think it has a choice. It was getting a 3rd season either way anyway. So I'm glad it exists. It's been it could have been a big failure, and it wasn't. That's what I'll say.
What episode does one of the kids sing the song from the Never Ending Story?
Yeah, exactly. That's the one that'll get you. That'll get all the clicks.
Yeah.
So a show that was a big failure over on the Hulu network, Why the Last Man, another beloved comic adaptation.
Wow.
It could have been something, could have went somewhere and just kind of fell flat, has already been canceled before the first season is over. Got the axe. So no more Why the Last Man. 10 episodes and out.
So I watched half of it.
Unless there's a big fan campaign, which I don't see happening, and a letter writing campaign of any sort.
So I want a Walking Dead style. What happened at the end? What was the twist that you were not that you should have seen coming?
Where did you jump off?
People talking.
Okay, there was like a bunch of women.
Just people talking. Sorry, but I was really annoyed by these people in the dark talking.
Again, this show, Cliff, you watched at least some of it, right?
Yeah, I watched several episodes. I don't know. It just petered out quickly with me. I never got real into it, and I watched an episode and quit at some point and just never went back to it. So
KP petered out. That's what we'll call that when that happens.
Exactly.
So I never disliked it, but it just never quite clicked. I think I said in the chat, like it was building to something, and I think it got better at the end, but I don't know that it got good enough to get over whatever hump it was. It's
all we ask is good enough.
So this is the show about there's a pandemic and it kills everyone on the planet with a Y chromosome, every human, every mammal except a guy and his monkey. So there's a lot you could do there, and it was a lot. They tried to do a lot. They dealt with politics and gender roles and family drama and all kind of stuff, and it just threw a whole lot at you at the beginning, and society crumbled really fast. So much of the series was taken up by this group of the Amazons, these women who came together under this powerful woman.
Did they say that?
They use the term Amazon
because I know obviously they did in the comics, like they were cutting their boobs off and stuff in the comics.
Yeah, it hadn't quite got to that.
But, it hadn't escalated there yet.
Well, the main lady had a mastectomy. So that was like they had shown. Yeah. But so this lady, she claims to be a former cop, And she's trying to rally. We never needed men. Men just made everything worse. We are going to run the world now. And again, it was an interesting take, but they revealed this woman was not a cop. She basically just worked at that Costco where they were staying, and was like a clerk. She was a grocery store clerk, and used the end of the world to kind of empower herself and become who she could never be in life. So hey, that's cool. Yeah. But the character was just. Ugh, she was annoying every time she was on screen. It was. Just,
I did not like her. Whatever episode was the last one I watched, there was too much of her.
So her again, but it saved her origin story till way late in the game. It made her interesting too late.
Yeah.
So in that group, there is the redheaded lady Nora with the young daughter, who she used to work in government in the White House, and they didn't need her anymore. She didn't have a big enough position, so. She couldn't make it on her own. She got kicked out of a couple groups. So I couldn't follow what her story was going to be because she wasn't from the comics. So I was like, what? She was like a main character, but I'd never quite placed where she was going to fit in the story. So she gets into these Amazons and is not cutting the mustard. Like, she doesn't buy into the hype, and she doesn't want to carry a gun, and they want to make her. She doesn't want to learn how to shoot, but she doesn't want to. She wants her daughter to be safe, but not, not to be a zealot. So she finally finds her role. I can't remember the leader of the Amazons, the woman. I can't say the woman. Everyone on the show is a woman, but she's like starting to lose. She's starting to lose her group, and Nora does what she did in politics and like massages the message and helps her like craft talking points and basically like runs her campaign and helps her what we need is food and shelter, and and so kind of like is the power behind the throne to this very bold leader. So she kind of makes herself indispensable in this group, and again, that's interesting. That's a cool dynamic.
I always like these better when you tell them than watching it. So I'm interested.
But then it leads to they become marauders and try to like invade this town. And I was holding out for the Marysville storyline because I thought that was where the comic really kicks into gear. Yorick shows up in Marysville, Ohio, and there's a self-sufficient town of women, and you don't quite know why they're so good at this, at living on their own and making do. The show changed it to Marysville. I don't know whether to not use a real place. I don't know, maybe. But that story was just not interesting. It became like a Walking Dead, like they were in the town too long and nothing happened. It was just them talking about what they should do next, and like it bogged down completely. Until then the Amazons show up at that town and they want to take over, and it doesn't work. All right. So this zealot Amazon wants to fight, and no matter how many of us they kill, we're gonna take this town and show them who's boss and all this stuff, and find this man and get rid of the last man on Earth. And so the big twist is Nora, the very meek, non-violent woman, kills the leader of the Amazons because she's just a loose cannon, and she takes over. And basically it says, you can call me Victoria now, which in the comics, Victoria is the leader of the Amazons and looks just like this actress with long red hair.
Right.
It's very thin. Yeah. And like they even had her dress. She had like a long dress and an army jacket, kind of looked like it was taken directly from the comic page.
Right.
And I watched I watched it for 10 episodes with this character who looks exactly like how they drew her in the comics, and I didn't play because I guess
I would have had to have. It's been a few years since I read it. I don't know if I'm sure, in fact, that if I watched it, I wouldn't have remembered it well enough to be bowled over by it, but that's cool that they did that. Yeah,
so it made the Amazons less dumb. Yeah. like her point of view made no sense. Like so it is now led by a smarter,
a better leader.
Yeah, a better leader who has the best interest of the people and like will maybe do something ruthless, but for the right reasons. And the politics stuff was interesting. They added that, the very alt-right, Marjorie Taylor Greene type.
Yeah.
Who would technically be next in succession, but nobody wants her to be president. She's too crazy.
Right.
So that was an interesting take. But they had Beth, York's girlfriend, who in the comic is like an ideal he's always looking for her. She's in Australia. He's never going to find her.
I can see that panel of her, full page panel of her in shorts in the desert or whatever.
So in the comic, Australia, that's too far away. It's like you might as well be on the moon because it's not going to happen. So, but the show has like made Beth a character. She shows up real fast. They find her. She's hanging out with the mom for a while. So like, I don't know. Maybe it makes her more 3-dimensional, but it kind of threw an extra wrinkle into things. So whatever, it's canceled. We don't have to think about it much more.
We don't have to worry about it. I worried about that for too many years, and they finally did it. And it wasn't great. Again, sometimes the comic is just good enough. You gotta just enjoy what you have. And not everything has to be like, okay, I love something, now I want to see it in every format, even though that is what we always do.
But I'm scared. That's been the last 15 years of fandom is I love this thing. Why can't it be more things?
Let's beat the shit out of it. Wow. Why can't we find a way that I could hate it?
Yeah.
I'd like to find. Is there something you could do with this so I don't even like the source material anymore?
Right. And can we make it so popular that I hate? I want so bad for other people to like it until it gets so popular that I hate so many people like it.
That I hate it and regret my tattoo. Yeah, that's the goal we all have.
Welcome to fandom.
Ka-Pow.
Eventually you'll hate
podcast.
It. Yeah.
Eventually you'll hate it.
Love it till you're sick of it.
I watched Made on Netflix. MAID.
What you working on?
It's a story about a woman. She lives in a big, beautiful house. Kind of house that's on the cover of magazines. She is a personal trainer and a financial advisor. She's been to the Louvre more than once. She spends entire Saturdays
Say bye to mommy.
getting hot stone massages and reading her first edition books.
Come on, Pumpkin.
No long lines to stand in, no time cards to punch. She's the luxury of time. She wakes up every morning to a view of the ocean that could exist just for her. She's time to bake 7 pies from scratch if she wants to.
What's the conflict?
There isn't one.
Jared Lowe recommended that to me, said it was excellent.
Yeah, it is excellent. It's
he said
so stressful.
His review was, you so rarely see actual poor people on TV or movies. Like you know, in the media, poor people are represented as something very fictional, or like sitcoms, or the Connor Family, or the I don't know, some other sitcom. But like you rarely see
this should be right up your alley.
You rarely see actual poverty depicted.
The only thing I would say is I wouldn't, you like the fun poverty, the funny poverty where like you can.
My name is Earl.
You can laugh at yourselves for how this is not fun.
Oh, I love being miserable. That's my favorite thing.
Oh well, this is miserable. It's miserable, stressful. It's starring Margaret Qualley. If you know who she is, she's a young actress that was in. I knew her from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She plays one of the Manson family. She gets picked up by Brad Pitt's character there, and she's hitchhiking, puts feet up on the dash, so you get your foot fetish for the movie. But she's good at, and she's Andy McDowell's daughter. Longtime actress, Groundhog Day, Andy McDowell, and she is also in it. She plays her mother in the movie. I mean, in the series. She's just, she does that money. Is with a alcoholic boyfriend, and they have a kid, and it's just a terrible situation, and she's trying to get out of, and it's just that struggle for a whole season. And she becomes a maid, that's why I titled that. She's trying to get out of this mess. Her mom's kind of crazy. I regret saying that. Her mom has some problems. How's that? And so she, is dealing with that constantly, and kind of like, how do you get yourself in, or if you're in a bad situation, why don't you get yourself out of it? Right. It's easy to look at somebody else and say that we all do it.
Yeah, sure.
And
you write out your bills and then hope that they clear before you spend all the money.
Maybe they won't cash them. Maybe they won't cash them.
You're right.
But she it does a good play on that.
That would be a show about fun poor.
Yeah. Anyway, she does a good job, and it does go like, how do you get it into the situation? How do you get out of it? How are you back in it? How do they, so easily. But I thought I really liked it. Like, I burnt through it in a couple days, so I know I must have liked it. But it was good. But it was very it was stressful and not a fun show. Except I think you were just like, because there was these few moments of light, or a few moments of something working out occasionally, like you're just hungering for that and hoping that it happens soon. Maybe next episode something will go right. But it's kind of shining a light on how people struggle.
The last season she wins the lottery.
Oh,
and they do a whole season of that, and then they reveal it's a dream later.
Yeah.
And then they'll kill her off.
And then they do a Nazi joke and have to kill her off.
Her husband dies, but then comes back later on.
I'm just going to move on then. I've been watching the Coopers. The Connors, the Connors. Yeah, I really have been. I've never stopped watching that show. Ever since I still watch the Connors. It's good enough. John Goodman's still playing Dan Connor.
Yeah.
It's not
even after they killed him.
Yeah. It's not a bad show.
And we got a trailer for Righteous Gemstones, speaking of.
Yes.
Yes.
I hadn't even thought of that show in so long, and now I really want to watch it.
Yeah.
The book of Matthew tells of nation rising against nation, a time of famines, pestilence, and earthquakes. Sound familiar?
Are you saying people need Jesus' love now more than ever?
We always need Jesus' love, but especially now.
GODD, Gemstones on digital demand.
You can watch it just about anywhere.
It is time to stop the filth coming out of Hollywood. If they're going to fill the airwaves 24/7 with that garbage, we going to do the same thing.
Amen!
The Gemstones rule the East, the Listens rule the West.
We should combine forces and see what God can do with our synergy.
I'm coming in hot. Yeah, I come big or I don't come at all.
I know the devil doesn't like it, but it...
Daddy's getting older, and Amber and I are the logical next leaders.
Y'all aren't the only people in this family.
Ooh, shake that cake.
Well, I'm doing a lot more than just youth ministry these days. The Kelvin Gemstone God Squad, we're a Christian army.
Stop wasting your time playing with your muscular boys.
They're muscle men, Daddy.
The writing is on the wall. That old man is on his way out, and I am stepping into power.
Keep dreaming, right?
Yeah.
Accept my dominance or don't. My reign is nigh.
My creamy white ass.
Bye, Felicia.
Okay.
What did he just say to me? Did he say bye, Felicia?
What does that mean?
Did you just say bye, Felicia?
Who's Felicia?
So bye, Felicia, to you.
Who's Felicia?
That's gonna be good.
Yeah, Alicia
G-O-D-D.
She had said something to me maybe a couple months ago about that show coming back because we just absolutely loved it so much and had so much fun watching that show. And then, like, yeah, I need more gemstones in my life.
I'm gonna have to listen to some Misbehaving.
Yes,
it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Just got out of that song. Had been stuck in my head for so long. It just got out of my head.
I know something about a pickle. I can't remember. Can't remember what it was, but I need to. I need to remember. What else have you been watching there, guys?
Well, I'll recommend a couple quick comedies. The Aquafina show, Nora from Queens. It's a Comedy Central show. Season 2 just wrapped up, and they put it on HBO Max now. So both seasons are on HBO Max. And season 2, I like season 1. I think she's funny. It's a kind of, speaking of fun poor, like it's like if she lives with her grandma and her dad in Queens, and it was just trying to make do as a young millennial, like trying to struggle, figure out her place in the world. And like the first season was good, and I think it got stronger in the second one. That their voice, her voice got a little stronger of what she wanted to say and how she wanted to do it, and took a few more chances. Her dad's BD Wong. Her cousin is Bowen Yang from Saturday Night Live, and Grandma steals the show completely. She's just the most adorable little old lady who will say you never know what's going to come out of her mouth. So it's as I said, this fall there were no new sitcoms on this fall. There was nothing new I felt like watching on network. So to have at least it was only 10 episode season, but it was nice to have some fun sitcom to watch. And also What We Do in the Shadows wrapped up their 3rd season, and it is still excellent. It has not waned at all. It might be getting better even as it goes. It's added to the cast a little bit. It made Kristen Schaal a regular. They've thrown in a few recurring characters and are kind of, there's become more of a ensemble to it all.
It must be getting better because I've heard a way more buzz this season. I liked the movie. I didn't love the first season. This is the second season?
Third season. Maybe
it was I don't remember. At some point, I fell off of it. I didn't love it, but it's getting way more buzz this season.
So this season, they took some big swings at the end of this season. And because a lot of it's just set in the house. Like they rarely even left the house in the first season. So they did some really big things, did some really bold chances and some big swings. And there is a cameo in a couple episodes. It might be my favorite cameo I've seen in ages. I won't spoil it, but he's somebody we've mentioned on the podcast before as one of those oddball actors that I love. And he just has a terrific recurring 2-episode cameo in this. So.
Cool. I watched. Hey, Cliff, did you ever watch Love Life season 1 with Anna Kendrick?
Not the whole season. We did watch. Yeah. I don't. Oh boy, it's been a while. I can't remember.
It's last year.
I can't remember if we finished it or not. We did watch.
Must not have loved it.
No, it was good. But I honestly don't know if we finished the entire first season.
It was fun. I mean, I liked it. I watched it pretty fast. It was just basically over every couple episodes. The time frame moves pretty fast. It starts in the middle of the decade and kind of goes, every couple episodes is a year, showing just her dating life, the relationships until she finds her person, supposedly. And so the second season started recently with a new character. And it's basically going over the same time frame with a different character and their love life. And this season, it is William Jackson Harper, who was Chidi in The Good Place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's good. It's
pretty good.
really good.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it as much as the first season. So they dropped them 3 episodes last Thursday, 3 episodes yesterday, and then the final 4 episodes will be dropped next week. So
okay,
you can burn through them if
Yeah,
you have any
catch up.
interest. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's good. Good stuff. Like
Well,
every episode's basically somebody else he dated.
The only thing I've managed to get caught up on here lately, I think, is I did finish up Stargirl over on the HBO Max or CW. Finished up Stargirl season 2. I guess it was like labeled as Summer School.
Summer School, yeah.
Yeah. And
that was perfect. It was 13 episodes.
Yeah.
The CW really needs more of that.
They do.
It didn't overstay its welcome. It just told one story.
Yeah. It wasn't overly complicated, and it gave me what I needed out of it. Really, I really kind of enjoyed the show. It's got Breck Basinger that plays, Courtney Whitmore, Stargirl, and then they've added on or brought back Joel McHale. He reprises his role as Sylvester Pemberton, Starman in this show, not the Star Spangled Kid, but and then it's got Luke Wilson in it, who is, I've really enjoyed him in this show. The effects aren't always the best, but then sometimes they're really good. So it's a real mixed bag. But this summer school season, they were fighting Eclipso basically, and we get introduced to the Shade, which I love the Shade character. I really liked him on the Justice League cartoon of the early 2000s. He was on several episodes. So I was really happy to see him come back, kind of a golden age villain more or less, but it's got some weak spots that I think could be better with some of the characters, but we did get some original Dr. Midnight stuff, and I mean, when it comes down to it, they've expanded their characters, but they don't make you sick of them. It's always kind of interesting. Yeah.
13 episodes. Just they're not around long enough to get sick of it.
Right. Exactly. So, but I really enjoyed it for a summer series. I really did. I'm hoping Riverdale kind of does something similar with their upcoming mini event they're doing. So we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, it was good.
It also had Jade showed up, Green Lantern's daughter. We had, again, the CW loves casting people from the 90s. We had Alicia Witt showed up.
Yeah.
And
the baby from Dune, the talking baby from Dune.
Is that Alicia Witt?
David Lynch.
And then we had Ethan Embry.
Sorry, that's why I just want to interrupt. That's why I leaned over to Nick after we were watching Dune. And I said, wait till you see the talking baby.
So we also had Ethan Embry. Wait.
Don't Nick Papa Giorgio or something like
from Empire Records.
Yes.
He was
Vegas Vacation.
Yes.
He was Johnny Thunder, the original Silver Age version.
Right.
And Thunderbolt shows up, voiced by Jim Gaffigan, which
that was weird.
Worked. It worked. I would never have assumed or guessed, but I think it worked.
And they kind of even threw me off there because I don't want to spoil too much, but when the Thunderbolt showed up, and you think, oh, they kind of threw it onto one character, and then I was like, well, this isn't very comics accurate, And then then we see Jakeem show up, and I was like, okay, awesome.
Again, giving that Mike kid nothing to do. He has no place on this show. But yeah, so that was the full season 2 of Summer School. It is now over, and they announced season 3 is coming, and it's called Frenemies.
Yeah.
And there's a little cameo from Keith David playing a pretty obscure DC character. So when we get to season 3, we'll learn more about who that is. And I have like a whole page of notes from Legends of Tomorrow that we will never get to.
I have not watched like any of this last season.
So all of season 6 was 14 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a big finale. Some important stuff happened. We knew Mick was leaving the show, so they wrapped all that up, and it was a big finale, season finale. And then it was like 3 weeks later, season 7 started.
They had a new season, yeah.
Yeah, so this pandemic, I don't know why television is not working like it normally is. So there's a ton that's happened since we last talked about it that's not important and we won't get to. But I did want to mention they got to episode 100.
Right, and they brought back a bunch of people.
Yes. So season 7, episode 3 was number 100. Katie Lotz directed it, which she's done several of them. So the story was Gideon has been conjured, thanks to some magical mumbo jumbo, back as a human, but she's losing memories. She's looking for her core memories. If that's is that the Disney nomenclature? Yeah. So they have to go back into these blocked memories that Gideon has been, as Gideon being the ship, has been there for the whole 100 episodes. So they go back, they kind of set up the plot. So it's a way to do a clip show, basically.
Yeah.
And to show a bunch of previous things that happened. But they also brought back a lot of the actors. So when the show starts, the theme song plays, and they showed every version of the logo throughout the show's run.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start bringing in, Jack shows up, Firestorm, and for some reason is talking in his original British accent. And they're like, that's how Gideon likes him. Gideon remembers him as British, so he didn't want to do his American accent or something. It made no sense, but he was speaking in his like kind of Cockney British slang, whatever. So we had Professor Stein showed up, Ray Palmer, Captain Cold, Hawkman, and even Rip Hunter. All had at least some moment on the show, come back for the 100th. And it was a really great episode. It was like, for being a silly sort of clip show montage thing of all the past greatest hits, the idea was that Gideon was less efficient the more human she was. And, trying to process her humanity made her, bad at her job. And so it shows the montages of like all the loss and death this show has, how many characters have left the show, how much tragedy has happened. And it's like, look, you don't want to deal with all these emotions. Just be a robot again. And it's like, humans, it's really bad to be a human. And then it goes back, she is saved by the memories of all the good times, all the heroism and all the love that's happened on the show. So it was kind of like this show's, statement of being of like, we're here for each other. We're a bunch of misfits, but we've got each other's back, and we're gonna save the day no matter what happens. So, like for being a good milestone episode, I thought it was really, really well done.
And good for them for getting to 100. I never would have imagined that show.
The odds were against them.
Oh, I got something for you.
Daddy said don't, but I said I'm gonna misbehaving. I'm on a windowsill swimming in the creek, catching crawdads and playing with a stick. I wore lipstick and I got caught shaving. Just two little country kids outside misbehaving. Teacher said don't, but I said it anyway, misbehaving. Preacher said no, if you do, you're gonna pay misbehaving. Kicking and spitting and cussing out loud, running through the house with the pickle in my mouth. Playing in the street, look at me outside waving. Just two little kids out there misbehaving. We thought we was just messing around till we met that man in the thorny crown and taught us that tricks and mischief leads to Satan. So from now on, there's no misbehaving.
Totally worth it.
Now it's back in my head where it needs to be.
I'm looking forward to season 2 of Righteous Gemstones, but I don't think it can top that.
How could it?
Never.
How could it?
Never.
I couldn't. I was sitting here like it was bugging me. Like, what was that pickle line? What was that pickle line?
with a stick.
Again, we can't top that. So we've been at this about an hour, so we should probably
Let's get to the business.
Our spoily moment. So that has been our regular episode. So if you don't want to know about it, watch Midnight Mass. We recommend it very much.
I'm not a horror guy.
Yeah, Halloween has passed. Maybe the mood doesn't strike you, but it's worth a watch.
Yeah, it's worth it, especially if you were ever churchy.
We tend to dislike mysteries. We feel uncomfortable not knowing. The more that we know, the less we bend, the more brittle we become, the easier to break.
That wasn't an act of God.
Wasn't it?
It's okay to just look at the world and say why. I don't understand.
Who are you?
You know who I am.
Spoiler territory.
That was a scary clip you put in there, Cliff, of Midnight Mass trailer.
Have I become that predictable?
Yeah, I like the when we're doing the Westerns episode. I said that it's like, oh, at the end I was like, oh, here's where Cliff will put in some this and some gunshots. I really was expecting there to be some guns firing at that point. But you came through. Start us off there, Jordan. Tell us about Midnight Mass?
So again, this is Mike Flanagan, who he's made several movies and these Netflix shows. And like I said about Hill House, I read a few articles today and some reviews, just kind of trying to refresh my memory. And there was one that was like negative, like this guy's not a horror. He's a real acclaimed horror director. This is barely even horror. Like people didn't like it because it was so mushy. And
there wasn't enough spinning lamps.
Yeah, horror is supposed to be
stupid,
bleak, and like the opposite. It said religion is meant to provide comfort, but horror is supposed to be discomforting, and like you can't have both in a movie. So again, if you are a straight up dyed-in-the-wool horror fan, this might not be for you. But for people like us, who it's not my favorite genre, dipping in this family stuff, and he's so good at character work and making you care about these people that when the scary stuff starts, then you're that much more.
That's funny that you say that, because I get a different take that I keep being confronted with, because as not a horror person, I technically, even though I read Stephen King more than anything in my life, and I like to read about that stuff, but I still stand by the fact that mostly I just think he's good at writing people. I have referred to things like this as more, like an elevated horror, or like Jordan Peele stuff, things that just a different, like a higher level. And
horror fans hate that too.
They hate that. The majority hate that more than what this guy is saying. They're like, no, it's just horror. And I'm like, well, I guess what I'm saying is I don't like Paranormal Activity, dumb horror, and they like all of it. So
let's start off by alienating fans of the genre.
Yeah, easily done. We knocked that out. Go on.
Okay, so this came to Netflix as 7-hour-long episodes. He had been working on it and thinking about it for a long time. he didn't. I don't think he had the clout because he said he was raised strict Catholic and went through some of the same struggles that this main character did. And like this has been an idea he's had for a long time and something he's wanted to deal with. And he actually used in his movie Hush in 2016, where Kate Siegel is an author who's terrorized by a home invader. She's writing her book is called Midnight Mass. So she wrote this book in the movie Hush.
That's pretty neat.
And he had a prop of the book, and like it was, it looked like the cover of the church and everything. And
Wow.
there's a Easter egg in Gerald's Game in 2017 that's in the room. The book Midnight Mass.
I'll never forget that scene.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so again, he's been working on it a long time. And I was probably 3 episodes in before I was even sure what kind of genre we were in. Like, it's obviously a horror movie. It's obviously steeped in Catholic traditions and dogma and all that stuff. But I didn't know whether it was a possession movie. I didn't know whether it was a demon. It was a vampire. I didn't know what it was. Like I kind of assumed it was going one way, but like it takes its sweet time, even letting you know what it's about, which I kind of liked because I like approaching stuff not knowing what I'm getting into. But once it kind of did, I thought it was really well done. So we're gonna spoil a little bit. It does. They never say the word vampire, but it takes that idea, and when you add vampires and the Catholic Church, and take this blood in remembrance of me, like the idea of Eucharist, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So that idea
Communion.
of like communion. There you go. Thank you. Like that's pretty unique. I don't know that I've seen that in a vampire story.
It was terrifying to hear how easily. I have complicated thoughts about it. I like I said, I grew up strictly Catholic. Like I mean, there are people in the world that definitely grew up far more strictly Catholic than I, but like we were the weird ones in our church. There was 2 or 3 families in our church that were the ones that were still doing the old traditions, because that's what their dad wanted them to do. It's like, because back years and years ago, the women wore things on, the doilies on their head. That's not what they're called, but it was like women were supposed to have their head covered. So my sisters had to wear that on, and mom had to wear things on top of their head. And whenever the church would change how things were done, we didn't change. You kneeled it the old way, and it was stupid. It's like, if the church approves it, can we move on? It's that kind of stuff. So we were living straight, like we said the rosary every day at home. You had to kneel down, stuff, whether you had friends over or not. It was great. But
and this is the kind of stuff that sticks with you as a filmmaker that you want to explore and talk about.
My point is that if you think I know. I'm saying, like, you think but you may have been one of the other 90% in there, but I was one of the 10% that was really dug in and had all this stuff. Like, we knew the words to every freaking prayer. And so when I'm watching the show, which has got to creep anybody out watching it, and it's a sad show, along with the scary stuff, but whenever a prayer is said and someone can say one word and the rest of the words before they go any further, or a hymn is played and you hear a couple of notes and it's like, well, I know this entire song, except what happens is he has used that against us, which I think is the point of the show, honestly. All these words that you've heard, it's like Mike Flanagan played the long game on me. like I lived my whole life so that in 2021 he could release this and say all those words that you heard and sang, now do it in the context of vampires, and now eat my flesh and drink my blood and you'll live forever. What's that mean now? And they saw an angel and they were sore afraid. I bet they were afraid when they saw this angel, and that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, wow, my mind is blown that he so easily used this against me. But really, the next level of that is because what's the biggest complaint you hear about this show?
The long takes and monologues.
Super talky.
Yes.
Except he's got us. He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
That's the point. What like the whole, I mean, obviously there's a whole meta-ness to it, and what this is really saying, and it's all how who knows what his intention was, and what we see it as a Trumpy thing, but the words, it's this priest and Bev and everybody repeating these biblical words and using them against us, just like they do. Like, these words are so powerful, more powerful than any weapon. Like, people pick up the Bible and use that as a weapon in this world every day, because the Bible is infallible, supposedly. And you don't question this. If I'm holding this Bible and quoting it, that's the truth. And that's what he does that in this show, to show how these words are used to convince people. If I just say it like this, and I'm quoting scripture, you can't argue with what I'm saying. And how powerful that is to convince the entire town. I don't know, like, maybe even if there was a terribly deadly contagion, that you could convince people that it was all meant to be, and this is God's will, and all of this,
The show was delayed by the pandemic. It was supposed to start shooting earlier, but it got pushed back quite a bit. So I'm sure it was all written. So I doubt he made any changes. But yes, you can 100% lay the last year over top of this, and the parallels of how easily we can accept mass death, and those who are okay with the book of Revelation coming true and are like wanting that.
Jeez, Bev was quick to hide a body.
Yeah, and are like
Bev was like on that. She not fazed by anything.
Yeah. So I don't think the show was written in response to the pandemic, but yeah, it's real easy to make parallels.
Yeah.
And of course the other very dark parallel is
if he would put that in Hush, I'm checking his closet for a pangolin.
But again, you can lay your own baggage onto a lot of this stuff. But some of the obvious things are that there's a priest with an unholy appetite, and the church is going to cover up for him and make excuses and cover. There's a very dangerous man. Yeah. Totally. But we're going to make it all disappear. That whole idea, like, that's right on the surface.
Yeah.
And I was so struck by that the rec center being the only nice building in town. It's in the middle of this crumbling village, and here's this beautiful empty building that serves no one. And it's that idea, our resources going to the best places. Nope, they're not always doing that. So there's just so many angles to this I think you can take, and that's why I would really love to watch it the second time, because I know he layered in some other things that her telling the story about clipping the wings of the bird, and and his dream about watching the sunrise. Like that
It's
stuff
totally
is obvious.
yeah, I went back and rewatched a lot of the monologues specifically because, and it totally pays off. Like all just to knowing what happens, it's like, oh wow, this where when you're watching it the first time, you're like, what are they getting at? Yeah, it's good. It's very good.
Constant references, dust to dust.
Oh,
how Saul became on the road to Damascus became Paul, and there's just so many things like that the few I did catch, I'm like, how many did I not catch?
Right. Just how their belief can justify anything. Couple things. One, the songs, and the one song in particular, and when I went back and watched it's the song that they sprinkle in over some of the monologues. I know both of them sharing what they how they imagine death would be, what happens when you die. Both times they play it. One of the episodes I remember, I think it was like 2 or 3, I don't know. At the end, they play like I never let it skip to the next episode like Netflix wants you to do. I would put it up to watch credits because there was always some song or something playing or somebody screaming. But the song you've heard, I recognize right away, about where were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there? Yada yada. But the line, it's just so good. You never think about it until now you're watching this scary version of everything. And the line, sometimes it causes me to tremble. And I'm freaking out listening to that. And it just, they don't even sing it later. It's just, that is playing over everything. And I'm just like, all I hear is tremble, tremble. I was like, oh, it was very effective.
I mean, the Bible is full of horrific stuff. Like you can have a whole series of these movies. Like there's an awful lot of not feel good stuff in the Bible. So this was a very interesting corner of that. This show got me because I was invested and I was enjoying it. But it really got me. The main character.
I like that you keep referring to him as the main character.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. He walks into the room and sees the thing.
Yeah.
At the end of that episode, and my brain that has seen a million movies and TV shows, I'm like, okay, this is the hero. How is he going to get out of this? Like, is it going to be? Oh, it's not what it looks like. And they're going to, oh, come here. I'm going to take you into my confidence. It's like there was
I didn't see you playing with your vampire, sir.
Yeah, there was 1 second of recognition and that thing just friggin' leapt at him.
Yeah.
And I just jolted like, oh, wow. Okay, now this is this show's not messing around. And then it became somebody else's show. Like it was not his show anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And these strong women came in and took charge and had to do the whole thing. So yeah, it became kind of, okay, I think I know where this is going into. I don't know what's going to happen. And then by that final episode, just it all went down.
It was crazy. And it was so good. And that final few episodes, yeah, I mean, really, it starts off a little slow because you don't know what you're getting into. But by the time you get to that 4th episode and that happens, and then the 5th episode ending, just screaming over credits, that is just so effective. And then 6 and 7 building up to that 7 finale. So good. That moment where 2 things. One, where again, we're deep in spoilers. You've seen it already, people. So I forget what you said that actress's name is.
Kate Siegel.
Yeah. When the vampire has her and takes out the knife and she's cutting. Yeah. When she's cutting his wings to shreds and he's finally, just like when he was getting shot, it's nothing. to him. It's like, quit
He's like,
pestering me with this, you know? Yeah. But he's like, finally, like realizing something's wrong. And she just takes his head and pulls it back down to keep sucking her blood. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's so incredible. But honestly, the most effective thing for me of the whole thing, I think, was Henry Thomas in that last episode, him and his wife. I'll still say call the main character Matt Saracen from Friday Night Lights. When they're vampires like everybody else, you know, they're infected like everybody else, and all these people are running around attacking the uninfected, and Henry Thomas and his wife are not. And it was such a Trump allegory to me of like, yeah, because of how many of these right wingers are just like immediately on the Trump train and going nuts and doing all this stuff. And he's just like, I thought they couldn't help themselves. And you know, he is one of them now, and he realizes it doesn't have to be that way. And he's like, I thought
you can control that.
Yeah,
that
I thought they couldn't help themselves. And he says, I feel it too. I'm starving too. You know, but whatever this is, don't change who you are. And that was I could eat some of that crow myself, you know. I could have a helping of that. But so that was very effective. And they just like watched everybody else, but they didn't get involved. And it was good.
And that's where some of the criticism came in. That was viewed as that's the good part of religion. Like that's the the people who have actual faith, and it shows that, you know, faith wins out, and, you know, Jesus wins the day, not this false religion that these people were preaching, but the honest love thy neighbor sort of religion. So I don't know that point was 100%
got across,
or was even the point. But that's what this criticism I read was dealing with. And I thought the survivors were kind of bland. Like the people who actually survived had very little impact in the whole story. So I wasn't like really rooting for certain people that made it. And the twist kind of came pretty fast of Sarah's father, and what, you know, somebody changed their mind at the end. Like that happened a little bit too fast for me. Of like, oh, wait a minute, he's did all this stuff, and all of a sudden he's a good dad and all this stuff. But I read some of those, like, you know, 10 Easter eggs you missed, and like there are some things that set up, you know, that's not completely out of left field that I had missed.
A rewatch would probably reveal that to you.
So again, it's not perfect, it's not 100%, but by the end, things are moving so fast, it's hard not to get sucked up into the excitement of it all. So.
Yeah, it was really good. That guy's good. He's particularly good at doing Stephen King type things. Like this is very Salem's Lot, and I'm sure he was influenced by that. I would like him to do any Stephen King thing. I push to the front. How about The Long Walk? Let's see, Mike Flanagan, The Long Walk.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I'm gonna push for Hamish Linklater to get an Emmy this year for that role as the priest. Like that fiery stuff behind the pulpit, mixed with the, you know, sitting in his room in the dark, like not knowing what's going on. Like he played the whole spectrum of what's going on, and the mumbling the prayers, you know, that felt so lived in, that, you know, somebody who knew those prayers by heart. And
there was stuff like seemed odd to me, like I don't know that a priest prays certain prayers, like, you know, maybe I could be wrong, I'm not a priest, but the angel of God, my guardian dear, to, you know, prayer is a kid's prayer. It's like, is he saying that prayer? He says it like over and over and over to himself. I'm like, maybe he does. Maybe that's his favorite prayer, has been his whole life. But that's like a prayer you teach your kids. I had to say that before I went to bed at night, you know, praying to your guardian angel. And I'm just like, as a priest saying that over and over, but that's just sticking.
Well, I've been saying those prayers every night before I go to bed because this movie freaked me out. I flipped the lights out. I'm like, is there any weird glowing yellow eyes out there looking at me?
Oh, yeah, deer in your front yard. All right, I think we covered it there, but definitely recommend that. Even if you're spoiled now for it, watch Midnight Mass. Don't sleep on Mike Flanagan. I want to watch Dr. Sleep. He did that movie.
Yeah.
And the sequel to The Shining, and everybody says it's good. And there's a director's cut now, apparently, that's even better. So I would like to catch up with that. He's doing a good job.
I saw his next thing is supposed to be, he's working on something, The Midnight Club. So I think he's going to do an episode of Riverdale.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's Riverdale.
His next
What's the Midnight Club?
His next Netflix horror series releasing in 2022, The Midnight Club.
Why does that sound familiar? I mean, it's not the Losers Club or the Hellfire Club. What is it?
Adapted from Christopher Pike's novel.
That sounds so familiar. I don't know. Really feel like I heard that recently.
The story follows a close-knit group of 7 terminally ill teens living in a hospice center that meets every midnight to tell each other scary stories.
Oh, I don't recognize that, but okay. I'm in.
I hope one of them talks about griffins and gargoyles.
Oh, yeah. They play it.
Yeah.
One of them has a tattoo.
And we all have our freshies.
Cool.
All right, so we covered all the TV we had to cover. We spoiled all the spoilers we had to spoil. So I think that wraps this one up, right?
Yep. Good enough.
Thank you to all the patrons out there who went to patreon.com/YouDownWithKPP.
Yep, that's it.
Don't put the question mark that I said.
Okay.
Because I said it like a question mark, but there's no question mark in the address. Patreon.com/YouDownWithKPP.
That's it.
Exclamation point.
I was going to say, it sounds like it needs an exclamation point or two.
We're trying to add some fun stuff on there. So
well, we all know that it has a colon.
Don't confuse them. They won't find it.
All righty. We will catch you next time. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
Seth. Bye forever.
Oh, no. If the priest in that show sang this song, how freaked out would you be? That vampire's got a pickle in his mouth.
Oh, shit. That was good. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.youdownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/YouDownWithKPP for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.